In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Music City Bridge nut slot gauge. I'll show you how it works, and then I'll talk about whether or not I think that this would be a valuable addition to your workshop. So I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer and we'll get started. So what this tool is designed to do is measure the depth of your slots relative to the frets. And to use it, it's pretty simple. The first thing you do is you place the gauge into one of the slots. And I like to place this edge so that it's flush with the face of the nut that's on the tuner side. Then you slowly pull it back and you listen for a click. Hear that? That click means that this slot, the bottom of it, is higher than the first fret. So when the tool is in the slot, this portion of the tool is above that first fret. So when you pull it out of the slot, that part snaps down and clicks that first fret. And that tells you that its depth is higher, the bottom of the slot is higher than the first fret. Now the tool has, as you can see, different numbers from 0, 3, 5, and 8. These numbers correspond to an amount of material that has been removed from the corner edge that the number corresponds to. And these are in thousandths of an inch. So at this end, the 3 means that this portion of the tool, 3/1000ths of an inch, has been removed compared to the rest of this area of the tool. On this corner, 5/1000ths of an inch has been removed, and it's about a 1/4 of an inch wide space where that material has been removed. And then on this end, it's 8/1000ths of an inch. And when you just look at the tool, it's pretty hard to see that. You have to look at it up close to notice that some of that material has been removed. So where it says 0, no material is removed. So when I put it in the slot and then pull back, we get that click. Here on this slot, it's much less because this slot is deeper than this slot. And that indicates a problem. There shouldn't be so much difference. Now, if I move to the number 3, that's 3/1000ths of an inch, and I place it in here, we still get that click. On this slot, there's no click. So I know the depth of that slot. The bottom relative to the first fret is going to be somewhere between 0 and 3/1000ths of an inch. So we'll say 2/1000ths of an inch. With this slot, however, at 3/1000ths of an inch, we're still getting the click. So I'll move to 5. That's 5/1000ths of an inch. It still clicks. Now we'll move to 8/1000ths of an inch. That's going to have the most material removed. And we still get it. So this slot needs to be deepened quite a bit. Now how deep is really a matter of personal preference, or the preference of whoever is going to be playing this guitar. And basically, the smaller the number, the deeper the slot, and the closer the bottom of the string will be to the top of the frets. So you have to decide, how deep do you want to make the slot? And then pick one of the numbers that corresponds to that depth. So 0 would make the bottom of the slot level with the top of the fret. 3/1000ths of an inch would mean the bottom of the slot is 3/1000ths of an inch above that first fret. And then 5/1000ths of an inch obviously would mean that the bottom of the slot would be 5/1000ths of an inch above the fret, and 8/1000ths of an inch would be, the bottom of the slot would be 8/1000ths of an inch above that first fret. So you have to decide how deep you want to go. If you want really super low action, you'd probably want to go with 3 or 5. If you want a little bit higher action at the first fret, you'd go with 8. Now, people tend to love low action, so they would probably want to go with either the 3 or the 5. However, some people like to go a little bit taller because they know that eventually the nut is going to wear, and they want to account for that. So they'll make it so that's a little bit higher, knowing that over time that slot is going to gradually deepen on its own, especially on the wound strings, which have a tendency to eat away at the bottom of the fret slot. So you have to make that decision yourself. Now what I'll do is I'll start deepening this slot in order to get it to, we'll say, 5/1000ths of an inch. So I will grab a fret nut slotting file, and when you slot, you want to do the work gradually. You don't want to work it too quickly and remove too much material. Otherwise, you may go too far. And it's important to remember that you can always remove material, but you can't add it back. So we'll try the 0 again. We still have that click. And I'm going to go down to the 5/1000, so we'll just go ahead and try the 5/1000. And we still have that click. So let me take the nut slotting file, and I will go a little bit deeper. And I'll just test it with the number 5/5000ths of an inch. It's getting a little better, but it still needs to go down pretty far. Getting better. In fact, if I go to 8, it's almost to 8. So I'm just going to continue to file. Okay, let's try 8. Okay, I'm feeling just a little bit. You probably can't hear it, but I can feel it pop down. So now I'll go to 5. And that's right at the 5/1000ths of an inch depth. So the bottom of that slot is 5/1000ths of an inch above the first fret. So I now have that slot at the correct depth. So is this a tool that you should consider for your workflow? I think it has uses in several different potential scenarios. One is, if you're new to making guitar nuts, you're about to discover that the process can be fraught with mistakes. It's very easy to file the slots too deep. And when that happens, the strings are too close to the first fret. In fact, they may even be sitting on the first fret, which means you're going to have to start over. There's nothing you can do to fix a slot that's too deep. There are some techniques that you can employ to fix it. However, all of these techniques are not what I would consider professional. In other words, they aren't the sort of thing that you would want to do if you were fixing somebody else's guitar or if you were planning to sell the guitar to somebody else. It's just not very professional. But with this tool, you can avoid the potential for making the slots too deep. This is going to help you to gradually creep up on that final depth that it needs to be in order to have low action without having string buzz. Another potential benefit to this tool would be to people who are making a lot of guitars. and are slotting a large number of guitar nuts, because the process of cutting a guitar nut can be somewhat time consuming. Normally, the methods that we use involve cutting the slot. Well, first of all, you have to remove the string. You have to cut the slot, or at least get it started. Then you would continue to reinsert the string and check to see what the action is over the first fret. And then you'd take that string back out of the slot and continue to file, and then continue checking it by putting the string back in the slot. And you do this over and over and over until you got the slot to the correct depth. That's a technique that I've been using for years, but it's time consuming. And if you've got a lot of guitar nuts to slot, that could add up, and it could be a serious time vampire when it comes to building guitars. So having a tool like this, it's going to allow you to slot the nut to the correct depth. But what's cool about it is you don't have to have the strings on the guitar, because the strings really aren't playing a role at this point in getting the slots to the correct depth. You're using this tool to do it for you. This is sort of like having the strings on the guitar without actually having the strings. So you don't have to constantly loosen the string, pull it out of the slot, continue to file, and then put the string back in, tighten it back up, check to see if the action is correct, and then move it, loosen it up, move it back out, and continue filing. You don't have to go through all those steps. You just simply use this tool and slide it in and out of the slot and file until you get it to the correct depth. So in that scenario, I think this tool would be very useful. Now, I do have one issue with this tool, and maybe a fairly minor issue, and that's the fact that this portion of the gauge that you slide in and out of the fret slot is made of plastic. And I have some serious reservations as to the durability, the long-term durability of this tool. I have a feeling that in a busy shop where you're doing a lot of nut slotting, this tool is going to eventually start to wear out. And I'm not really sure how accurate these little areas at the corners that have been milled away, I guess, to those specific depth dimensions. It seems like they are fairly accurate, but because it's plastic, I'm just not really confident in how long this tool will last. However, you could almost consider it a consumable tool, knowing that eventually it's going to wear out, in which case you would have to replace it with a new one. And the nice thing is, this tool is pretty cheap. I think I paid $19 for this. So once it wears out, I just buy a new one. It's not that expensive. But I think if this portion could be made out of stainless steel, yes, the tool would be a lot more expensive, but it would also last a lot longer. So that's really my only issue with this tool. Okay guys, well I hope you've enjoyed this video, and really the bottom line is I can definitely recommend this tool. It's affordable and it just plain works. So definitely consider it. There's a link in the description down below if you'd like to check it out yourself. And as always, until the next episode, if you enjoyed this video, click that thumbs up button. Stop what you're doing, slide your cursor or your finger right over that little thumbs up icon and click it. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps to support my channel without spending any money. And of course, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can do all the things I mentioned earlier in the video. But until the next episode, as always, take care, stay safe, and I hope you'll be back for more of these guitar building videos.